What is up, YouTube? My name is Evan, and this is our Pokemon Fusion deck for Theme Deck Thursday. And taking what we had last week, it was kind of a tough call, surprisingly, this early in the project to pick out what we were going to pull. Well, some of the pulls were a little bit easier than others. Winona was a pretty easy choice, as we only had 3 colorless Pokemon left in the deck, and a lot of the Pokemon we're kind of compelled to keep are not colorless. So her usefulness was pretty questionable at best. So this week she's an easy pick in terms of what we can remove. She's just not pulling her weight. The next pull was what was really the hardest. In many ways, I feel like Articuno really doesn't do enough work to justify its existence in this deck. But since it is kind of the theme Pokemon to one of the 2 main decks, I'm having trouble trying to decide if it's something that I should pull or should not pull. But for now, there's actually another Mon that makes just a little bit more sense to pull, and that's Swellow and the 2 Tailo that support it. It's a little counterintuitive in some ways, because this Mon actually did some work for us this week in our games. But even in doing some work, putting out some damage for us, I also experienced the problem with this Mon. And that is that, number one, we'd probably want more copies of it to make it consistent in any way, which would mean putting more in, and that would kind of run into the problem down the line that it just doesn't deal quite enough damage that in the long run its being in the deck is going to be justified. In other words, it's just not going to do enough work in the end to justify its existence, and therefore we might as well pull it now. It just doesn't deal that much damage, and we got a lot of other Mons who might want these energies instead of the Swellow. So in the end, those Mons are going to end up getting pulled, and we have one more card we're going to pull, and this was also a pretty tough call, surprisingly. But we're going to pull one of our Professor's Letter. We have lots of ways to go get energy. We have a lot of Pokemon who search for energy with their attacks. We've got 1 copy of Steven, and we're running 4 Professor's Letter. So we can definitely afford to drop one, and in the end, that was what made the difference. We just have so many cards doing this job that even though Professor's Letter is probably the most efficient one out of the group, we just do it so much already, it's just not really needed. So those were our 5 pulls. Now our additions were also in many ways kind of challenging. This was probably the easiest addition to make, and that was Muscle Band. Part of what we've got an issue with is we want to do more damage, and Muscle Band just adds that on. A number of our Pokemon aren't going to deal damage with their attacks, and that's why we didn't opt to go ahead and just add 4 right now. We'll probably be going in that direction in the future, but with what we've got right now, we only have so many Pokemon that are probably going to end up attacking and dealing damage in the first place. So, as a result, we don't want to overstock with Muscle Bands that may not actually be useful. After all, if Articuno goes for Find Ice, or if Heliolisk goes for Parabolic Charge, Muscle Band won't add damage because those attacks have no base damage in the first place. So we're just adding those, but our primary attacker is really Salamence, and Salamence is going to very much appreciate that Muscle Band. So we are opting for those 3. Our 4th addition is going to be Escape Rope. Our retreat costs are definitely kind of an issue, and we still have Rapidash in the deck for now. And so all those things kind of justify running a little bit more switch power and definitely Escape Rope. Escape Rope can get you cool free treats and comeback-ins to get rid of status with Rapidash, but more importantly, what this does is it gives us a switch that we can also use to kind of mess with our opponent, since when we play a card like this, we're always going to be doing it to kind of get ourselves out of trouble because we have some pretty heavy retreats here and there, and even the 1 energy retreats are retreats we really don't want to pay in this deck, because our energy is kind of a precious resource. Every turn's energy play is important to us. So it was either Switch or Escape Rope, and I like the option of messing with our opponent, so Escape Rope it is. In our last edition, I wanted to add a little bit more draw power, and I opted for Shauna. She digs the deepest without necessarily sacrificing things out of our hand, which is still kind of an issue for us at the moment. So she seemed like the right pick rather than our last copy of Sycamore, and she digs deeper than cards like Tierno, so she was kind of the way to go. We're going to play her a little judiciously, of course. Depending on what's in our hand, we may not want to throw it back into the deck just yet, but I think with some smart playing, she's definitely the way to go. you could make arguments for Professor Birch's observations, but I'm a bigger proponent of Shauna because she guarantees that you'll at least get 5. Um, so that's going to be my choice there, but Professor Birch's observations would be another excellent choice in that slot instead. So anyway, this is our Fusion deck for the week. And until next time, like, comment, subscribe. Check me out on Twitter if you haven't already. The link is below. And I will see you next time.